Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, happy tomorrow, depending on where you're tuning in. This is 365 Deep Dive. He's John, I'm Andy, and today we are talking end of year workflow and gear. It's going to be a fun episode. I'm really looking forward to it. A little bit more casual than what we've done here lately. So thank you for everybody joining in. John, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Doing well,
I'm
doing well.
getting kind of ready to coast into Thanksgiving. I naturally have a sinus infection, so I'm right on schedule for Thanksgiving. I was I was telling Andy before we were texting back and forth this morning. I was like, dude, I'm a little bit worried because I can't hear anything out of my right side. So I've got my AirPod on my left side, and I can hear myself in my head like very loudly. So so we're gonna see how this goes. I'm getting this like feedback loop in my own brain right now, but we'll get through it.
Just make sure you turn on the captions or the subtitles for whatever feed you're monitoring with here today.
That's right. I'll just use the reactions to express my excitement. While the video was playing, Andy, I went through and I learned how to do the lasers. It's the horns.
Oh, nice.
That's how you do
Okay,
the lasers on
nice.
Mac OS.
I will keep that in mind.
Cool. So, Andy, we've got a few friends with us today to talk about, our setups, for end of the year, kind of like how our desks have changed throughout the year. More, probably most interesting to most people would be like, what do we do in a meeting versus like a live stream versus like recording a video? So we've reached out to a few buddies of ours that you guys probably know to talk about their setups as well and kind of just do like a show and tell as we kind of head into like all these sales going on if you've got an eye out for gear. So Andy, you want to introduce people and I'll bring them on?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, hailing from a small island in the South Pacific, he's going to keep you in the loop. Joining us today, friend of the show, friend of the community, Darrell Webster.
Is that how you do it? Right.
Yeah, does the heart work?
Yeah. I don't know.
There we go. Hey,
Yeah, I
it
got to
comes
turn
out
mine
of your
on.
hand.
Yeah. Hey, well, thanks for the intro, guys. This is the second time we've done this. I think the last time you did this around Black Friday, and I kind of felt like I was part of a sales pitch for use this code to buy this thing.
Yeah, we should do QR codes this time with affiliate links and all that. But
We had a year
Yeah.
to set up affiliate links, so we missed out.
Oh,
yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, Daryl. I just checked my Stream Deck, which I'll talk about in my little workflow setup, and it is 6:38 in the morning in New Zealand. So we appreciate you getting up early, man.
And tomorrow, Thursday,
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah. So
yeah. Date
coming
lines are
all the way
fun.
from the future.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, some say that his chair swivels at the speed of sound, and he can solve a paper jam just by glaring at it. All the way from South Africa, Alistair.
Good now. I was on the last one, right? And the paper thing, yes, definitely. In a previous life, back in the early 2000s, I used to run a scanning bureau, and we scanned 14 million pieces of paper. So if you need to talk to you,
Wow.
if you need me to talk to you about the quality of paper in grams and the impact of dust on paper, I can definitely do that. Great to be here.
Wow.
I was not expecting that.
Great intro. I'm going to grab it from the recording, and that's how I'm going to introduce myself.
Yeah.
And then lastly, not to be outdone, but some say his coffee mug refills itself and that his keyboard has no backspace because he never makes mistakes. All the way from the Pacific Northwest, Mr. Jeremy Chapman.
If only that was true. Only I didn't need the backspace key. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on the first time. So this is my inaugural, very first episode of this series.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks for joining us, Jeremy.
Yeah,
We
thanks
were,
for
we were
being here.
talking like 1 minute before we went live. We were talking that Jeremy should have stacked up all the cameras he's reviewed in the past year and like bust through it like the Kool-Aid man.
Yeah.
Make like a wrestler entrance. So
That would have been funny. I could have totally done. I don't know if I'd get it as tall as me, but probably. Maybe if I put them on my desk, I could do that next time.
If you still have the boxes that they come in, you might be able to get up to that height.
I do. I totally do. I keep them all in their stock packaging, and they kind of accumulate in my closet.
I'm glad it's not just me that keeps the stock packaging. Like I've got just like boxes on my workbench right over here of like a couple of things that I bought here recently, and I'm just like saving it so I can like repackage or resell it down the road.
Yep, that's exactly. We've got a storage unit with a bunch of like old decorations and stuff, and I swear a corner of it is stacked up with empty boxes that are just for like, I want to package this up and eBay it someday. So
I always have that aspiration, but I had a fetish at one point for ultra mobile PCs, if you remember those days, in Windows 7 and earlier. And I had all of the packaging for all these devices, and they were all like pretty expensive, like $1,000 a piece on average, I would say. But none of them ever sold. By the time I was thinking about putting them on eBay, they were all worthless. So it wouldn't run the newest versions of Windows, because we've been to Windows 8.1 or 10 by that stage.
But
that's usually my problem.
You could ship that worthlessness safely, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
The thing is, there's like a window between like something retaining its value and then it's worthless. And then about 20 years later, it's like retro now.
Nostalgia.
You know? Like this. I've been rebuying. I bought an iPod like 2 weeks ago on Goodwill. And I've been like loading it up for some reason with music just to relive the early 2000s.
And you're using early 2000s period correct music?
Do what?
I was saying, are you putting period correct early 2000s music only on that device? Because that'd be funny.
It is. I do have on my NAS in my basement, I have all my songs from like college in there. Cool. So I loaded those up in Apple Music, and I've been transferring them over, listening to like early 2000s.
Nice.
So we have gathered our friends here literally from around the world to talk about our workflow and our gear, and just talk shop around the cameras and the tech that we use. Immediately, I can see there's been some big changes to a couple of you, the offices and the studios that you're in. So I know we're really excited to kind of dive into that. But for everybody who's joining in, this is going to be more of a casual show here today. We've been in Copilot land, it seems like, for months now. John and I will be back there next Friday. But today we just wanted to kind of talk about the gear that we're using to, do a live stream like this, to join a meeting, to interact with, our colleagues internal to the org or, external, and just kind of talk about our setup a little bit and how the gear that we use kind of falls into that setup. So we'll just kind of take it casually, round table, just kind of go around. I see people are joining in, live on YouTube and on LinkedIn and on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it today. So if you have questions, send those over YouTube live or in LinkedIn live, and we'll see those pop up. If you got comments that you want to send us, we want to hear that too and engage with the audience. But with that, we're just going to kind of dive into it and talk about our stuff. I know personally, I haven't bought a ton of new gear this year. I bought a couple of things, but I haven't bought a whole lot of new gear. I've been trying to maximize what I have and simplify my workflow just a little bit. So that's where a lot of my efforts have been concentrated. What about you all?
Yeah, so I've been right. I'm kind of the same with you, Andy. I haven't really changed a lot with my actual setup. It's been mostly like configuration tweaks and things like that. Like I've made changes to kind of streamline what I'm doing, like in the actual workflow. Like when I first started at EY, I had like all these different presentation tools that I use on my computer. And as I've changed into this new role, doing less demonstrating and more, just day-to-day meetings, back-to-back meetings, I'm finding that some of my tools I'm not really, I wasn't really using. So I've kind of like shed some of the stuff that I was using in the past. I'd say the only biggest change to my setup physically has been just a different monitor. that I'll go through. I went from an ultra wide to a big 4K monitor.
What size 4K, John?
It's a 43-inch.
Really? Where do you
Small.
Oh,
put
yeah.
it?
Small
Sorry,
4K.
this
Yeah.
is a huge
It's
debate.
Let me bring this up. So I've got my I can use it as a fill light. It's so big.
I've got two. All right. And I
Really?
literally did it the same. I did the same thing. I put a 43-inch on my desk, right? I've got a
Nice.
Samsung and then some cheap Toshiba. And it was great. I can have 4 screens, right? Which is perfect. But then where do I put my camera? Because it's too high
Yeah,
to put the
exactly.
camera above it, right? I love the screen real estate because I'd have a second screen on the side. So when I present in 1920, it works. But I've literally taken that screen, stuck it on the wall, and I've gone back to my ultra wide because where do I put the camera, right? And that's been my
Yeah.
bugbear because the screen size is it's perfect. It worked. Everything worked on it. I loved having 4 screens open, and I wouldn't need multiple screens except to present on. So I am interested in what your experience with that is.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. How about the three of you guys, Jeremy, Darrell, Alistair? Have you guys done major changes over the past year in your setup?
On my side, not really. I mean, I would say I've tried a lot of stuff, and there's never been a camera that I've tried yet to where it's going to replace my Sony's. But I went to a bit of a wider lens, a 23 millimeter lens, f1.4, a little while ago. It was probably within the year, but otherwise, it's been pretty static for me in terms of Sony ZV-E10. I've got an A7 Mark II at a wider kind of field of view, but they're both kind of low aperture, lenses, and they have different framing basically. I haven't really added anything like in terms of cameras above me or below me. I've changed lighting a little bit. Like sometimes, especially for different reviews, where like if I go with, because I'm kind of in the whole maybe 2017 YouTuber look in terms of the backlighting at the moment. So if I go with that, sometimes the cameras don't get the white balance and the metering right. So I have to like go with a light background and light shirts and stuff for them to even work properly if they're on default settings. So once in a while I'll change that kind of stuff up. But yeah, it's been fairly static there. And then on audio, I guess I got a Wave XLR so I can do some tuning with the MV7 because I was doing pure USB for a long time. But otherwise, it's been small tweaks, iterations on stuff, and various docking solutions and things because I'm running out of USB bandwidth on my Thunderbolt 4 ports. So it's smaller stuff.
Yeah. That's I've been having the same trouble like with power. So like right now, I'm actually not using this microphone because we had trouble with it cutting out. So I'm on my AirPod microphone. Hopefully it sounds okay. But
You were committed to the bit with a prop mic.
yeah. I just didn't move it out of the way. But we'll talk about that a little bit too, I guess, of like when do I use this versus like having it completely out of frame,
We can
your audio
hear
didn't
you,
even
John.
dip when you did that. That was amazing.
Right? Isn't it the magic trick? So, Darrell, what about you? You changed completely new houses in the past year, right?
Nah, same house. Just kicked out my
I thought you
second eldest son.
Okay, so you moved room locations, not houses.
Room location. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Honestly, that was. I mean, I know this is just an overview, and we'll get into the depth of it. But yeah, moved location, shuffled things around, got a bit more space. Yeah, I think it's about just trying to make wise choices to suit the kind of things that you do in your space. I want to be able to try and show different things from different angles or have a different focus on a different scene or a different thing. So that's where, the things that I've got kind of try and optimize for that. So I can shuffle lights around or put cameras in different places off the desk. I think and if we're talking monitors, and we'll get into details, but that was probably one of my most recent purchases was I got a LG Dual Up because I have been using a MacBook for about a year, but had recently started at a business where you've got to use the company device for security purposes. So I wanted to have my content creation machine and my work machine, but I also wanted to still have double screens on it. So we'll cover that off when we do a bit of a tour.
Yeah, I'm really interested to hear about that because
Yeah.
I've been looking at that monitor too for the same reasons. Yeah. How about you, Alistair? There's been comments in the chat of you're in light mode now, and people
So
commenting they like the brightness.
there's a lot of light, and typically this is my primary workstation that I work from, and then I've got a desk behind me that, you know, if I'm doing any broadcasting or webinars, I'd usually shoot from that different background, so I could hold on. Alexa, everything on. So there's more light, and then I drop the white light that you're seeing over there, like Matt says, you know, light mode, and I'd switch that off, and then you've got a much darker background with the bigger light over there. So that's and then obviously more cameras, different lenses. Jeremy, did you say you've got that 24mm G Master lens on your ZV-E10?
No, I've got it's a 23mm Viltrox autofocus f1.4. That one's been really good. It's a solid lens, given it's a fairly inexpensive one.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just cosmetic stuff on the back, and I don't think I had the last time I was on the show. And then obviously the flow of, you know, where we're doing things from. I mean, that's my office.
Nice.
And that's obviously
it looks really good. You've got a lot of depth going on. You know,
yeah,
I like the greenery in the back.
Yeah.
Same with Darrell. I really have always liked your greenery that you've got going on. Kind of the plant, it adds a lot of, like, you know, just, you know, natural element to it. It's really nice.
So why don't we start there? Let's talk a little bit about lights. Like I can see there's been some big changes with the lighting that a lot of us are using, and so often I think people are quick to jump and, you know, try to buy a better webcam or buy a better camera or throw a mirrorless cam into it. But it really does come down to lighting. I know personally, like I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out my lighting. I bought a couple of lighting accessories this year, and that's kind of where I'm working to kind of do some of my tweaking. Today, I might be a little oversaturated, especially on this side, because I've got my window, the blinds open, because it's been a dark dungeon in here for a while. For me to like control the light, I have to shut the blinds, and then I've some light blocking curtains, and it just gets kind of dark and drab. So I've made a conscious effort to try to lighten up the scene a little bit. So why don't we talk a little bit about lighting and some of the lighting setup that we're taking advantage of. And I know it can come in a whole bunch of different shapes and sizes. Like, for example, John and I were talking a little bit earlier, I think it was yesterday, about some of the Logitech Lytra accessories.
I used to have the Lytra Beam that I got to test out. Yeah.
So you could have something as small as this and use it as like a key light. And then there's the Elgato key lights, desk mounted, or they come on a standalone stand. Aperture makes some really great small, the MC series, and then there's some bigger key lights. So why don't we dive in and talk a little bit about some of the lighting that we're using and how that's working. And I mean, we can just, like, I guess, go clockwise and kind of go around. Start with Jeremy up in my upper left.
All right, I'm gonna make everyone a little bit seasick, I think, with my camera swap, but I'll go to my. Let me just show the camera first because it's kind of an interesting one. I've got this eMeet camera that, by the way, is all wireless, and it has a detachable microphone, because the problem with microphones in general, not just wireless ones, is that the distance of the camera, because you're a meter or 3 feet away from it, the audio always sounds really terrible. So they've actually developed a way with a wireless
That's a cool idea,
so that you're kind of next to your microphone always. And you can link up multiple. That's what the back of this, there's a 2 when it goes into focus that you can use in terms of the focus on it. So it actually works out pretty well if you've got a few of them. But let me just switch to the camera now. It's going to be shaky, so I apologize to everyone who's watching. And just let's sign a like a liability waiver that you don't get sick. Here we go. So this
How
is
does that mount, Jeremy?
So it's got
Does
a
it have like
tripod
a
mount. It
quarter
doesn't come
20?
with a webcam mount, so you have to use a quarter 20 on it. But
Okay.
in terms of lighting, since we're on lighting, I won't go to everything else. But one thing, and I get this feedback a lot, especially because I'm doing a lot of budget webcam stuff, and people will be like, "You're using $5,000 worth of lighting. Of course, your webcam is going to look decent." It's not true. So just so you can kind of see inside of this softbox, there's like a $20 or $30 ring light, like a 12-inch ring light. So it's not anything expensive. And the reason why is because I don't have a lot of depth back here. So if I go behind it, it's basically very compact in terms of its mounting depth. And that's one light element. I would say the other thing that's kind of unique, that's a good cheap trick in terms of lighting, because you don't have to run like a overhead bar or anything, is if you use these canned lighting, recessed lighting extenders, you can actually set up hair lights effectively and get addition without messing up your walls and stuff. So one thing I've done is I've just used my normal lights with basically extending the light sockets out so I can have more than one bulb, and then I can direct the pattern of the light and use these as hair lights effectively to be able to dial that part in, because that pops you out from the actual normal front image. If I switch back to my normal camera, hopefully this is helpful. If I switch back to my normal camera, you'll see, like, from a lighting perspective, there's light coming from back up above me and from behind me. And that's that's what we'll do. Even in the studio, there's a lot of lighting that's coming from overhead on purpose, just so that you get background separation in terms of your silhouette and everything. So that's one trick I thought that was hopefully a nice budget trick. But my lighting setup, probably I would say, if you take out the RGB lights, which are probably the most expensive component, I'm probably only into lighting about maybe $100 or less for the softbox, the ring light, and the overhead lights. And then the rest of it, the RGB stuff, is just kind of more run-of-the-mill Wi-Fi RGB to change the background colors. So that's basically what I've got set up here.
I really like the softbox idea. To double click on that a little bit, that's something that kind of, I don't know, it's been almost a pet peeve of mine in the pandemic, is that everybody like dove in and bought these ring lights without realizing that, like, a ring light is designed to be straight face on, for doing like makeup tutorials and things like that. And people, they get like those halos in their eyes, and it's too flat of lighting most of the time. But your idea of like putting it slightly off to the side and then putting it in a softbox to kind of soften the harshness of it, that's like a really good idea for people out there who may have ended up with a ring light and they're, saying like it's too harsh on their skin or something like that. Maybe they could soften it up with adding a box to it without buying a whole new light.
And if you wear glasses, like, that's the other thing. It's hard sometimes to even find the right angles for the lights to where you don't have rings in your glasses. And mine's a bit off to the side, so it probably wouldn't affect it as much. But that's one of the things where it does diffuse quite a bit. And then as long as you can buy, and I've got a stand with a normal pivot mount quarter 20, to where I can pivot it the way I want it to be, directed out and down. It's a little bit higher and to the left of me, but that gives you more options in terms of how you direct it. And the softbox, it's like a newer softbox. It was about $30 or something. And then I used to cover the back, because it's meant for like a square key light. I used like Barstool upholstery cover, black stretch on kind of microfiber things to fill the back in, because it was bleeding light from the back of it. And so I used 2 of those on the back of it. So it's very MacGyver-ish, but it works really well.
Yeah. Do you have a link to that softbox? We could throw it in the chat.
I able to find it handy. I usually put it in my video descriptions on YouTube, but I can probably dig it up over the course of this.
Cool. Yeah, that's a really good idea. And that trick of like covering up the back, I was going to ask, like, was it made for a ring light, or was it for a different type? That's cool.
I'm like I'm kind of, I know you've got your wood shop. I'm kind of a car modifier person. Like, that's the first thing I do when I buy a car is I'll lower it and put wheels and tires on it and a bunch of other stuff and a stereo. So I'm used to like fabricating things. So like I saw, even though because the ring is about the same diameter as the hole for a key light to go in. It's I think a 24-inch or something softbox, and then the actual spot where you'd put a normal key light, I think, is 12 by 12 or something. So the ring is 12 inches diameter. So basically, you kind of have to weave the Velcro stuff through it, and then put some kind of a backing on. But it's held, like it doesn't flop or move or anything. I've got it in there pretty well, and then I've just got a normal like desk clamp, mini kind of C-stand monopod that I've mounted it to. And my desk is I didn't mention this in the last year, but my desk basically is height adjustable. So I've got that all remotely controllable, I should say. So everything moves with it, including the cameras and the lights and the whole thing. So whenever I'm typically seated, but a lot of times I'll stand because it's hard to stay seated when you're on 10 hours of Teams calls per day. So, we'll stand up occasionally, and that way you've got that flexibility there.
Nice. So who else with the lighting stuff? Darrell, you want to go into your kind of lighting ideas?
Yeah.
Let me swap.
And I can attempt to try and to share it too, but I'll just talk about it to start with.
All right.
And I don't have a flash camera like Jeremy where I can just switch and say this is the source. I'm just to do the little tours. I'm just going to share my desktop and then mirror my phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to talk a little about the lighting. It's built up over time. I started out with 2 little dish hue lights and then a Philips Hue lighting strip, and just sort of stuck it under a shelf back in my old house. And then this Hue stuff was really nice, so I got a couple of those stand little play lights which sort of sit there and there. And then when I started to try and set up the studio, I had initially those Elgato key lights, and they were on those nice stands, so it would raise up and down with a desk. It was good like that. But I wanted something that I could also possibly take on site to do interviews with people as I maybe create some content for change management, interviewing executives or whatever to represent the message. So I switched to some Amaran lights, some flat panels, and thinking, okay, I'll use those, and then also the dome light with another Amaran simple something. Look, I'm not the guy to ask and say what are the specs for this and that, what's the model. I'll just go, yeah, it's one of those, the Amaran thingo with the light dome SE. So yeah, lighting wise, I think the last one that I thought would be quite nice is this little filament hue one in the back. So yeah, hopefully this little transition doesn't take too long, but I'll try and share screens if I can. And then let's try entire screen.
Yeah. What's that little light bulb in the back in there? Is that a special video light, or is it a Hue bulb, or
it's
what kind of bulb do you have?
It's a Hue bulb, but like one of those. It's still LED, but
it's like
to make it look like a filament.
Yeah. I have those on my nightstand.
All right, let's see if I can also just quickly change audio so that I'm not disappearing into the ether.
There we go. There's your screen.
Hear me? Good. 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, yep. There we go.
Cool. All right. And then we should have practiced this beforehand, guys. I'm sorry.
Ecamm Live. You should have used Ecamm Live, Darrell.
Oh, all right then.
The Ecamm. Yeah.
Well, is my phone coming through in a horizontal fashion? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, here's my.
You got a lot of notifications, bro.
Yeah. All right. So, and this is what is this one? I forget what the app is, but basically it lets you record 2 cameras. I thought this might be useful. Lights, right? So let me take you on the history. It was these 2 puppies down here to start with, and the nice thing about that was when I did a bit more traveling, they were actually side table lights, which one on my wife's side, one on mine. And then while I was away, I had it timed so that it would turn on this nice, favorite colored light, and it would let Alicia know that, hey, I'm thinking of you while I'm away. I didn't tell it was automated thoughtfulness, but it worked. The light side of things in terms of play bar, so that's your Philips Hue play bar as well.
Yeah.
So that, because of the angle, I can get a nice coloring going on there, which is cool. And same thing for this one down here. We've got some weird stuff going on with one of my lighting strips. So I think this has got crushed at some point, and now it will just remember the last color that was there. And yeah, so that's the little filament one. That's the Philips Hue, which is quite cool.
Nice. That's a good trick, because people they don't think about lighting the inside of a shelf, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of tricking the mind, because it's you see a light, but you don't put two and two together. That light bulb, there's no way that it could light up that top shelf. So you've got to have a play light that's kind of hidden in there.
Yeah, maybe. I deliberately didn't have the colors on the background, but that's kind of what it looks like. Should move my face out of the way anyway. So then these lights, trying to get some angles going on and light my face in different ways. I've got my big dome, so that's quite a nice soft touch. And then there's the color panel, so that's another Amaran color thingo. And that means, and Alistair told me about this, he gave me some pointers, that by pointing that up in the ceiling and being able to fill in the corner there, I can change up the colors quite nicely. That's all.
So you're bouncing it off the ceiling then?
Yeah, that's right.
Back wall.
Yeah, and I pretty much, if I want to do any kind of recording, I've got these crusty blue, curtains that I want to change them. They're not great, but they do the job. So that's lighting. In terms of that, I'll hand it over now to Al. Unless you got some questions while I got stuff set up.
So you're doing similar to what I've got set up. You're blacking out your natural windows so that you only are controlling everything in the room.
Yeah, because
not opening.
I've got this
blinds.
white fence, as you can see. Can you imagine at certain times of day it'll definitely blind people.
Yeah.
Wash me out.
Nice.
All right. I relinquish my time back to the speaker from South Africa.
Yeah, Al, let's see what you got going on, because it looks like you've got a lot of layers.
Alexa, everything off. Okay. What has changed since the last time? Still got the desk where I'm sitting at right now. I don't think I had a portable one. It's a standing desk, so it moves up and down. And definitely, if I had to switch on a light on my desk, not the back one.
Oh, your video froze.
Oh, I got a frozen video on my side too.
And it really depends on what's happening. What you don't factor in, if you've got multiple in front of you.
We lost Alistair.
Am I frozen?
I think your network's dropping out, dude.
Hello?
Yeah. Now you're back. It was that sudden surge of Wi-Fi commands from the lights.
All of a sudden surge of valuable information.
This is the part of the episode where we talk about troubleshooting live.
It was so beautifully clear on the upload before until now. Oh, we lost him.
Yeah. Oh, we dropped him.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, Al rejoins. I'll go through my lights if you want, because it's pretty simple setup. So, yeah, I'm going to switch over to mine here. So let me flip my camera over to something else. So iPhone right there. Hey, there we go. All right, so this is my desk setup that I was talking about. It's got the 43-inch monitor right there, the 24-inch. This is the Link Teams display that they've got with like all the compute in it. So up there, I'm rocking the Elgato key light. I've had that since I guess like the first month of the pandemic, really. And that's the only light coming from this direction is just that single one right there, off to the left of my camera. And then the reason I'm doing that is so I can control the brightness and the color temperature and all of that with my Stream Deck. And then kind of like what you were doing, Jeremy, I've got, to be my hair light, if you will, I've got the just my light up above with 3 hue bulbs in it. So I can change like the color temperature of that, the brightness. I like your idea though of getting it extended out so you can kind of make it more directional.
The directional part's key because some of those, and you can look at the different bulbs and what their beam pattern is. I'm also a lighting nerd, by the way, in terms of stuff, car lights and stuff too. Yeah. But if you look at the kind of the field of width of the actual bulb itself, you want the tighter one, especially if you want like dark background, which I may switch out of at some point, but that keeps it directed right towards the front of the room.
I thought about also maybe doing the little key light mini from Elgato, then like clamping it to the side of that light fixture. That way I could kind of position it with like a ball mount, and then I could control it with my Stream Deck. So that kind of remains, a challenge a little bit. And then my other lights here, I've just got like a Govee lamp right here that can animate light and kind of do like a different color spills. And then behind mine, Darrell, you were showing your play lights. I've got 2 of those play bars up above, like right behind the TV right here. And then I've got 2 of them stuck in this TV stand. I found 2 of them at a garage sale. So I was able to add 2 more. So I've got like 4 hue bulbs there. And then right here to kind of spin it around more, this has a color hue bulb in it, which, I need to figure out, I think, how to move this lamp to a different position. Because if I switch back over to my regular camera here, it's kind of behind me a little bit too much. So if I sit right in the middle, it's almost like, coming out of me. So I may figure out some type of different, move it over this direction more. So
use
that
it
you
to
can
your
actually see
advantage,
it.
John. Give yourself a green aura. Go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of like a halo.
Yeah, like the backlight.
There we go.
Yeah, when we film sometimes in the studio, we'll actually have a light that looks like it's projecting from your lower back to a gray screen. And it looks like you're glowing.
Yeah, there
you go. A nice gradient behind you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So Al's back. Yeah, Carl, I'll have to go over my gaming system here in a little bit and show all the different setup I got going on. It's kind of overkill.
So. Sorry about that. My internet.
Yeah, no problem, dude.
I've had intermittent internet for the last week, and I'm probably going to have to buy new Wi-Fi. It's time to change my Wi-Fi. I've got TP-Link access points everywhere, mesh, and it's obviously a problem. Speaking about light, I do have light everywhere. I think you might have seen my key light on my desk, or I might have dropped off when I did that. Yeah. Did I drop off?
I think you did before you were able to get to it.
Key light, right? But because of the lights from my screens, I hardly ever use it. I don't need it because I've got additional lighting. And I think a lot of people need to factor in, if you've got a camera in front of you and that's all you're using to shoot, understand that additional light that you're going to get from screens. I mean, if I had to move this, well, no, it's not actually doing anything now. But if I've got black backgrounds, I'm going to have less light on me, irrespective of the light behind me. So it really depends on what your setup looks like. Right now, I've got screens everywhere, so I don't need to add additional light for you to see my face. I'm not controlling the white balance, so I'm probably I could be better. Navigate my load shedding. I've got an inverter, so I don't have load shedding. Just to answer Carl's question in the chat. Definitely, yeah. I've got an inverter with a battery, so I don't struggle with load shedding. Load shedding
So
in South Africa.
Yeah, I've never heard of like load shedding being a problem. So I guess you have like kind of inconsistent power.
So load shedding, and they actually made an ad about this, promoting South Africa. Load shedding is where your suburb cycles power to the primary power provider, and then they'll cut power to a suburb for 1, 2, or 3 hour stints. And they'll cycle the suburbs, because we've got a problem. We've got one power provider in South Africa. We haven't decoupled that from our country, from government. So we've got this thing called load shedding. We've got a load shedding app so that we know when the power's off. And I've got an inverter with a battery backup. So it's a 5 kilowatt hour battery, and that runs my house for about 4 hours if they do. And we've got different stages, right? That's crazy.
Oh, wow. That is crazy. I've never heard of that concept.
Yeah. So it's called
maybe
load
something we'll have
shedding.
to do in the US at some point.
Like rolling brownouts, right?
Yeah.
You'll know what that is. So yeah, I suppose we're going to spearhead sort of solar powered houses globally, because everyone is installing solar panels on their roof with an inverter and a battery backup. You see MKBHD did his entire house with Tesla tiles and all of that. That's what we do in South Africa, so that we get off grid. We're not allowed to push back into grid yet. And I know you can do that in the US too. You know, if you've got additional power, you can push back. Speaking about lights, depending on what light setup you want, I mean, the ring lights work, the Elgato lights work. My original first light was just a soft box with one of those weird cheap dome things in it, right? We've all got those Aperture light dome minis with an actual sort of Amran. I've got a 60X in there. So if I really want to do Rembrandt, and when I'm doing webinars, I do it from there. And then you'll get the dreamy look that everyone else has got. And Jeremy does it really well with his sort of Rembrandt shadow or the triangle.
I go for the drama, man. It's all about the drama.
And then, you know, accent lighting, practical lights, hair lights, you know, to separate. I mean, I've got some of these. These are what is this? This is an ambi-fuel cheap RGB lights. I mean, it's rechargeable. Does this one come on? Yes. So, and it's magnetized, and you can stick it anywhere. And then it's also got a quarter 20 on the bottom. So if I want to put it on something, I can screw it in and then stick it down. And I've actually got one sitting under the box that's on the wall over there. So you don't have to spend a ton of money on buying some sort of Aperture 120D and a softbox. You can literally buy, I've got a softbox on here that came with these GVM square RGB lights, right? Wi-Fi controlled or Bluetooth controlled. You don't have to spend a ton of money to get the lighting set up right. And to Jeremy's point earlier on, this is a cheap M100 camera with a 16mm lens. And if you get the lighting right, the camera is going to work perfectly fine. I do have some Alexa, everything on. I do have a bunch of other lights. If it's going to come on now. Nothing works. I do have a bunch of lights everywhere else. Hold on, I can do that. You can see it in the back there. Alexa, everything on. Let's see if she listens. There we go. Now you can see all the lights go on, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's just accent lighting. And because I've got this desk, I can move it around and I'll have different backgrounds depending on what I want to shoot from. And then there's another camera angle. We'll give you that. So lighting is key outside of everything. Before you throw money at a camera, buy decent lighting, or at least buy lights.
You have to put the link to those little portable lights in the chat too. Yeah. I'm interested in that, because one thing I've been wanting to clean up, if I put myself up big, is this area. It's just very dark because I've got like a black leather couch right there. So like something to kind of bright up this whole zone right here. Maybe some lighting down below would help.
Well, what's his name? Tom Buck has got like 15 lights like scattered everywhere.
Yeah, on the floor
inside
everywhere.
of these little cabinets and things. I think he's got the aperture stuff everywhere. They're not cheap. I'm talking about like $25 a light, $40 for combo. And these ones actually you can get soft boxes for them. Strangely enough, and they work quite well. I will find that for you.
Nice. Yeah, share that with us. We'll throw it in the chat for everybody on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right, Andy, what about you?
All right. Let me. I'm having the same. I'm not seeing the camera that I want. So give me 1 second. So, I have a plethora of different lights. I'll start off basically by saying that I had a ring light initially, like 3 years ago, and the halo thing drove me absolutely crazy. So I stopped messing around with that and got the Elgato key lights. And I used the key lights and I was really happy with. I had one, and then I wanted to. I was using this kind of a key light here, and then with the room that I was in, I wanted to be able to kind of balance it a little bit, and so I ended up getting 2 of them. And again, really, really happy for a long time. And then something happened with the firmware, and the key lights would not stay connected to my network. And so it was one of those things where I could manually turn it on and off, like literally flip the switch. But if I wanted to change the brightness or like the color temperature, it just I didn't want to cooperate. And so that was really frustrating. And there was, I want to say like maybe 2 years ago, there was a sale from Aperture, and as part of that that sale, I ended up with a 60X, and I'll show that in just a second, and a softbox, and I'm really happy with that. It uses there's an app on your phone, the Sidus Link app. You can control all of your Aperture and Amaran lights from that, and you can set up different scenes. So you can have one light go for one presentation, or you can have like the whole plethora of lights go off. So I was really, really happy with that. So let me see if I can pull the webcam up and show you. So here we go. All right. Yay, new camera working today. All right, so previous setup, I actually still have the Elgatos. They started working again mysteriously, like, I don't know, a month ago. And now that I've said
you got like a firmware update maybe?
They're not gonna ever connect to the network ever again. But mysteriously they started working again. So I'm actually using that as part of like my work PC over there. And then I've got a separate monitor setup that I use. And so like I use those mainly for that and for some of the camera testing that I do, like testing webcams for like Teams and Teams meeting rooms and stuff. For a portable experience, I have that guy. That's the Logitech Litra. It's just powered by USB, and it's got some software so you can change the color temperature and the brightness. It packs in my bag and it's super light. So if I need it on the go, I can take that. But I also have a few of these guys. These are the Aperture MCs. They're they got a rechargeable battery built right in. You can control them with the app. You can also just toggle it on. It's got a silicone diffuser. They're super lightweight. And then there's a quarter 20 on the bottom. So I can throw it in my backpack and take it with me. So if I know I'm going to be on the go somewhere, I'll take either the Litra or the Aperture MCs with me. And I'm really happy with those. Now, so that's kind of portable and in the past. The thing that I currently use is I've got the up here. That's the Amaran 60X. And that's a Light Dome. That's the Light Dome SE. The SE is like the most affordable one of the group, and so I got that with a grid on it. That's my main, and that's like 10% brightness. And you can kind of see my camera right there. I use the zebras, and it can tell me if I'm oversaturated or not. So definitely the white in the background is, but I'm not blown out, which is good. but I can adjust that with the mobile app. And then for like a hair light scenario, I've got another one that I use up there.
Did you say hair light, Andy?
I know.
I have the same
irony.
problem.
Yeah. So I've got another 60X up there, but I got it on a swivel arm, so I can move it. I can use it with like the Teams meeting device. I can use it with like my work computer. I have my setup over here, and not only does it swivel back and forth on the wall, but I can also extend it out into the room if I need it. And to be honest, I use that as kind of like my main room light. I really just like it. It's a nice, soft, diffused light. It fills the room really well, so I'm really happy with that. And then you can kind of see in the background over there, I do have an LED strip on my bookshelf in my workstation over here. So I have that kind of as a light in the background. So like whenever I'm on camera, it kind of fills in some of that space right up there and provides a little bit of depth of separation. And then the last thing I have from like a light standpoint is there is up there an aperture. It's the 8C, I believe. It's one of the smaller bulbs. I have 2 of those in the room just to provide a little bit of additional, practical light to kind of break things up a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of that's the lighting setup that wow, it won't get focused right now. But that's the lighting setup that I'm currently working with.
Nice. Yeah. So you've definitely got a mix, so you can control it with different options, the Elgato or the Aperture system. Darrell, what was yours?
Yeah. It was a question, and I think it's something that we could all kind of answer. Alistair put me on to this thinking too. If you look at your lights at different shutter speeds on your camera, do you get the little lines that it's that refresh?
I have that problem
Yeah.
with this guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something I think that's what I want to go up from, is moving away from the hue lights, which that's the problem. You don't get to, adjust or sync with that. But I think the Amaran is or that range, you've got that ability to get over it.
One of the things that I really like about the Amaran and the Aperture lights is that they're non-flicker. They're made for cameras, so that you don't have that rolling shutter thing in it. I put a link in the chat here. Aperture and Amaran are actually having a big Black Friday sale. I don't know if that's a worldwide sale or not, but they're having that right now. There's no affiliate links or anything. There's no kickbacks for us on any of that. But if anybody's interested, like, they have some pretty decent deals on some of that. I really like the Aperture Amaran. I like the Amaran brand because it's affordable. It's entry level. It's really affordable. But the other thing that I didn't show, let me bring this back up real quick, and let me switch the camera. Is we had the question a moment ago about power, and I'm actually using I can power my Amarans with V-mount batteries or with I have the Sony LP batteries or NP batteries, the Sony NP batteries. You can power those the 60s, the Amarans with that, which is really cool. So like, I have them, they're connected to a power strip in my house. But if I need to take that with me, like, I literally just pull it off of the spigot that it's on up there. I throw a V mount on it, like, just snap it in, and then I got power for days, and I can take that thing wherever I want. And if I want to, I have a rolling C-stand over there, and I can throw it on that rolling C-stand and whatever I need, and it travels with me. So it's really, really portable, which is really cool. So that's another reason why I really like the Amaran lights.
Now, Darrell, are you taking you have the Aperture MCs for on the go, don't you? Those little light cube guys?
So
because I think I would say
P60X
P60X
and a P60C. So
Darrell and Andy, you guys have more of kind of like a studio and a mobile on the go persona, right? I would say probably me, Jeremy, Alistair have more of like a stable, like, desk, home office studio. I mean, Jeremy goes into like a studio, to do mechanics and stuff like that, obviously. But like, I would say ours is a little bit more static or installed. You guys like to kind of, move a little bit more. I know Andy, he does, interviews on the go, or speaking at conferences, doing workshops, teaching classes on campus, things like that. And Darrell, you're doing, loop videos like on the go where you're walking and talking to the camera, stuff like that. So kind of other things to think about is like, do you need it like installed and it's going to be there and it's going to stay there, or do you need the ability to kind of take it portably and go do something else? So it's interesting.
If we're talking about portable,
needs.
I think Alistair has the most portable desk of all of us with the mobile setup that he was assembling back there. I don't know if there's any lighting on that you want to talk about, but I think we need to introduce the mobile rig there.
Yeah, that backdrop is looking awesome.
If you can kind of see it, if you switch to my other view, and you can kind of see it. That's the sort of what's his name? DSL Caleb Pike. All-in-one, height adjustable desk on wheels, and I can literally move it around. So when I actually do, and you can go back to that view now, to the other one.
There you go.
That's the backdrop that you are actually seeing when I do webinars. So I'll stick my head in there quickly.
Oh man, that looks so killer.
So you should hear me from here, right? Now, there's the big softbox. That's a Sony ZV-E10 with a 24mm host muted. No, that's not. You can hear me, right?
Barely.
Here, hold on.
Through your other mic.
There we go.
There you go.
So softbox, desk moving. I mean, I can do that.
Cool.
Panning L. Whoa.
Like having a
Different background. Hold on.
Yeah. Whole other studio.
Yeah,
I've heard
it's
of
like
turntables for like
KPHD.
product photography, but I
And
haven't
now
heard
you
of the
can,
desk being a turntable.
change your backgrounds because you might want to have a different background, and that was the purpose behind this desk.
Mm-hmm.
2 screens, and it works.
Wow.
Cool.
So
I think a lot of that is also because like you have such a big space to be able to move around in, like I've got my room is about 14 by 14 feet. So I feel like I'm kind of locked in to where I'm at up against a wall, and I think a lot of that is also because like the other choices I've made to like have a huge gaming setup across this wall behind it. I don't know if you noticed when I switched on my mobile camera, but I have 2 giant 3D printers right behind my monitor, having a big open space like you do, that's pretty cool because you can basically change scenes in the same room.
Yep.
Handy.
That's pretty wild.
I'm coming back to my desk.
Okay.
That's lighting, guys. That's like a good 50 minutes of. We didn't make light of lights, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, hopefully we give some people some different ideas and some things to think about, like whether it's taking advantage of what you have built into the home that you're already in, taking advantage of the walls and reflecting, some portable light options, and then some things that are locked in or portable, like we see there at the end. So why don't we move on to the next part? So we got light. Well, we might as well talk about cameras a little bit. I know we did that last year for those that joined us last year, but I think there's been a couple of small updates that we should talk about when it comes to cameras. But I'll kick it off by saying this. I'm pretty lucky. I've got a mirrorless camera. It has amazing resolution and it does some pretty awesome stuff. but people ask me all the time. They're like, what should I do about cameras? And the first thing I always tell anybody is the most powerful camera you have is the one in your pocket. You can, in most cases, take advantage of that. So, like, for example, if you're in Teams meetings all day, you can use the companion mode in Teams, and you can join the meeting on your laptop and then join from your phone and use the camera on your phone, either to film yourself or to showcase things that are in the room. So you don't have to run out and spend thousands of dollars on a mirrorless camera. You can take advantage of the camera that's in your pocket.
So Andy, about that, so that's not to be confused with a Mac mode. What you're talking about is joining from Teams on your desktop and join from Teams mobile on your phone, and then you can use that as a camera.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's called Teams companion mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to that point, I would also say, just having tested probably 70 or something web cameras, the iPhone cameras, I would say from the iPhone 10X or iPhone X all the way forward, even if you have an old version that you don't use as your daily driver, the cameras are going to be superior to almost every webcam on the market. Whether you're using Epoch Cam from Elgato on a Windows machine or using continuity camera, just the computational image kind of manipulation they do is really, really good. So even if you're like weighing up your options to say buy a Insta360 Link or Razer Kio Pro Ultra or something that's in the high end of a webcam, your phone's generally going to outperform it, at least in terms of sharpness, clarity, color balance, all of those things, because that's what most people use, I think, and they've got the science right on it. And so it's actually quite powerful to use an iPhone or a really good Android phone camera as a webcam. The only thing that's the downside of it is if it's your daily driver, then you kind of lose its functionality while it's shooting you, obviously. So it's good to have like maybe the last phone that you had and almost use that and park it on a tripod with a phone mount, and that's gonna outperform, like I said, almost every webcam out there.
Yeah, and a trick I've seen too is Belkin makes one, and I've seen a lot of 3D printed options for if you're on a Mac, you can use the continuity camera, and if you have a newer iPhone that is your daily driver, you could use one of those what's it called, MagSafe, the MagSafe charger, mounted up above your monitor, and then you could stick your phone to it and pull it off. Yeah, and then that way you're getting power while you're also, using that. So Darrell's got that on the back of his. It's got the clip that hooks onto your monitor.
I just use the pop socket. It's MagSafe. I just use the pop socket, and that works really well. I can position it on behind the screen, and so the cameras are above it, and I can use the high def. But I do recommend like just a cheap selfie stick. This is one I got. This is an Anchor selfie stick. It's got a tripod on the bottom, and then just throw the camera in there. And if you've got an iPhone, you can use the continuity camera like you were talking about, and there's your webcam, and you can take that with you like anywhere, and it's super portable.
And it's super good. And like these kind of clamps that you can get that come with the ring lights, they're they're basically free. Like you can buy them for about $4, I think, on Amazon. But once you do that, you can put it on a tripod. One thing I would say, because I see a lot of people using continuity camera on a MacBook, it's the shakiest thing ever because the lid is flopping around typically. And so one thing I didn't like when I went to the raising and lowering height adjustable desk is I had my cameras mounted against my wall before, which they were lock solid. Like right now, I could shake my camera and you can see it move because it's
same with me.
attached to my desk. But so I have to not touch the desk. But like if you can mount it to something that's not on your desk or not on the lid or not on your monitor, like that gives you next level not wobbly or stable image effectively. Once you dial the image in, it's perfect.
Yeah, you can see how much mine's wobbling because of that cantilever of the desk.
Right.
Yeah.
So why don't we like briefly share maybe our primary camera that we're working with, and maybe a secondary that that you recommend, and we'll just kind of go around. Jeremy, since you're up, why don't you go first?
Yeah, my secondary dropped out. Let me see if I can troubleshoot it and get it to work. Just a second. I'm going to go out of frame here for a second.
Yeah.
Because it keeps doing this. There we go. See if my secondary comes up. It does, but it looks really dark. That's funny. Yeah, now I've got the super mood. It's the lighting hasn't changed, by the way. That's my A7. So I power cycled it, and that's probably why it let there be light.
Yeah.
See?
Super low
There
ISO.
What's that?
Like super low ISO.
Yeah, exactly. It probably did something like that when I power reset it. So this one is the ZVE10, and I still stand by this being like the best value for money in terms of a camera. It will actually do direct USB out to a device without a capture card. I am using a Camlink 4K capture card, and I've got a Viltrox, like I mentioned earlier, 23mm f1.4 lens, a dummy battery, and literally, even though there's a heat setting on this camera that says ignore high temperature warnings or whatever, this camera, I don't turn it off. Like, that's probably why my A7's wigging out, because it's probably been turned on for like 5 years straight or 3 years straight. But I just leave it on like a web camera, just because I tend to wake up relatively early, and my meetings tend to start at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I don't want to deal with powering up everything, even if it was all on like outboard power sockets, and I've got a Stream Deck and everything, but it's kind of always running in that sense, and it's been rock solid, this one. I think I've probably had it turned on since when I got it around Christmas of 2021 or something. So it's been really good. And then I've swapped out different lenses. The A7 that was really dark a second ago, that one I ended up going with a 35mm f1.8 because it's a full frame camera. So the one thing people don't tell you, well, two things people don't tell you that I wanted to share as tips, actually. On the full frame cameras, when you have a different millimeter lens size, you have to go with a higher number, and there's actually a factor and a calculation you can do in terms of what the field of view is going to look like. And there are full frame committed lenses that you buy versus crop sensor lenses. Like, if you put a crop sensor lens on a full frame camera, you got to use crop mode, and then it changes the whole look of the camera. And then the other thing I wanted to say was, like, when you do the RGB lights, especially with web cameras, because they're not very good at metering and getting skin tones and stuff right, you have to change the light tones of your blues and your purples and your greens or whatever to match the color that you want, because the camera sees light differently. And if you go to our studio, even on campus, like, the blue that we have that you see when it's there is a totally different blue tone than it is, even though we're using cinema cameras. They're all FX, I think they're FX9 Sony cameras, with really good glass and everything. The backlighting, you have to tune to the lens of your camera. It's different than what your eye sees typically. So that's one trick I've learned over the years, is that you have to kind of match up the blues and the different tones that you want behind you to make your camera see it correctly.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Like, I've set the temperature of the lights that I have in here to a certain color temperature, and then I'm using on the camera the zebras to try to figure out if I'm overexposed. And then if you're using multiple cams like you are, you have to kind of balance the ISO and the exposure with the lighting in the room, so you can get a consistent picture coming out of both of them.
Yep.
One thing I'm curious about, Jeremy, is your reviews of USB webcams and all the different options there. Do you think that, like, is the goal to get to replace one of the mirrorless camera and have like a daily driver? Like, do you hope someday that you aren't having to use like a camera body with a lens and all that? Or are you kind of like on the hunt to replace your secondary?
Weirdly do, yes. Like, I was hoping that the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra with its f1.7 aperture and the biggest sensor now, would be something like that, but I still haven't met. I mean, I still stand by the statement that a Sony A5000 hacked to get rid of the to make it clean HDMI and you can get those for like $120 sometimes, will outperform any webcam. Like even give me a 4K webcam, because even the 4K value hardly matters in a lot of cases. It will outperform almost anything on the market. Well, it will outperform, in my opinion, anything I've tested on the market that is a webcam. And if you spend about $200 on a relatively inexpensive lens, an A5000, you modify its firmware so it does clean HDMI, dummy battery, you can get that for about $200, and it will decimate any webcam that I've ever tested. And including an iPhone, by the way. That's one thing I'd say that the iPhone won't be able to beat, is the A5000 with a decent lens and lighting and all of those things on it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Is like I have aspirations that someday I'm going to, be able to go just with like a clean USB webcam, like the best of the best, and get rid of like having a Sony with a 16 millimeter lens. But it's just, I can't get that crispness, in everything that I've tried. That it's like just out of reach,
Yep. And the other thing I would say, when you try to do like digital, like interception of it through NVIDIA Broadcast or something to do like background blur, because it goes out of sync so far from the audio source typically, and then you don't want to run OBS to try to do I try to run like straight from capture card or camera into Teams and straight from microphone versus through OBS, because there's always weird delays and stuff. That slows the camera down, or the camera feed down, quite a bit when you put like image processing in the chain. It's good for like editing a video that you're going to do, but for Teams meeting or live anything, it doesn't quite work for me, at least, unless you're willing to live with the lag when you align the lag in OBS for your audio.
I actually watched your video, Jeremy, on the OBS thing, because I use previously. I'm gone from Canon to Sony, right? And we used to run Canon M6 Mark IIs at the office, and we've still got them at the office on Sigma lenses, right? And I tried the audio sync stuff because I wanted that teal LUT that you get in OBS. I used to use that at the office because I like the Joker look, right? And I had to change the audio and run my audio through, even though I was using an XLR mic with a Scarlett Studio on my desk, I had to run the audio through OBS and then delay it or speed it up so that the sync would work, because I'm running a LUT. And the picture quality was great, but I could never get the audio sync properly where I was happy with it. So I just...
That's why a lot of people, I mean, if you watch, and I watch like Harris Heller and various, they will just mount their microphone and use the camera mic input so that it's all going through the capture card, and not even mess with, even though some of them have the right studio mics and, podcasting style mics like these. Because mine's out of frame. But, off the camera, you're guaranteed for the audio to sync up with the video. And so if you put it in a hot shoe and the camera's microphone input, that's a nice kind of foolproof way. For me, it doesn't work because my camera's too close to my wall, so I'm going to always get echo even with the shotgun microphone. I've tried it. So I've got to use this one that I've got here, closer to me.
We've all gone. I mean, there's Darrell. Is that a video mic?
Yeah, you've been doing the shotgun mic for a while.
On and off. And that actually, in my recent experiments, because the goal of me changing up my background is to go outdoors, stick a little platform on a tripod, and do stuff outside. And in early experiments, I was actually connecting this to the camera, then the camera USB-C, audio and video were coming through that USB-C, and they were a source for a Teams meeting, and it was fantastic. You do need a little dead cat as well, the old Russian or Queen's Guard at Buckingham Palace hat to...
That is not incognito.
No, it's not. It's like a stand back from the Queen's microphone.
Yeah.
So Darrell, tell us a little bit more about your camera setup. What are you using studio and on the go?
Studio, like Jeremy and I think Al too, the Sony ZV-10. Again, I'm terrible with model numbers and names, so feel free to correct me.
Just say loop.
Loop. Yes, and Yeah, I think I've stuck with a ASPC format, the crop factor lenses, more affordable, and it's allowed me to have another camera and sort of share those lenses across. The challenge, I wanted to more than just use these as flash webcams. I wanted to start understanding a bit more about photography and make it more of a hobby as well. So that's why I stuck with that format. The lens I've got on is a Sony G
15 mil.
15, yeah, 1.4,
It's the G series.
which beautiful, man. Like, I'll talk about mounting in a little while too, about how I mount them and shift things around. But
Yeah.
I just love how it's nice and wide. It's got good depth. It's about a meter away from the back wall, so I can get that kind of nice blur. And yeah, I've actually found that that's also the lens that I'm trying to travel with. But if I switch to this other view, yeah. So that is a Sony A6700, and I'll talk about the setup on top of it there too. Again, crop factor, ASPC lens, and
16
it's a
mil.
G16 to 55 with a constant 2.8 aperture. That portrait style, you can zoom in a bit, and that, I think that's what I've been traveling with and taking pictures with, so that I've got that one lens that will do a lot of things. Yeah, in terms of like other lenses and bits and pieces.
But Darrell,
I-
you've gone through quite a few lens combinations. This
Yeah.
is the latest one now, the zoom, right, that you've got now, because you had a 16 on.
Right, so at the moment you'll actually see a vignette. For today, I've popped on a Padcaster Pro teleprompter thingo. Just as a way of saying that this is a thing that I sometimes use when I need to deliver information dense content. Jeremy will understand that for sure.
I'm very dense. That's what I like to say.
That's not what I meant, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to avoid repetition, there's nothing better than a prompter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
How many of you guys are using prompters now? Because I got rid of my prompter when I left Cerner, and I'm really, if I'm going to buy anything soon, I really want to buy that Elgato prompter. I'm curious if you guys are using prompters in your daily driver. Or
Well, of course, we never use prompters in the studio or at home.
Sure, yeah.
Really?
No, every camera that we have in the studio, like the middle and the left and right ones, all have it. And then at home underneath the main one I've got here, I've got a lens or a monitor I can use as a prompter, and I've got a Padcaster on my A7.
Yeah. So do you use that in like just your meetings and things like that to help with eye contact?
The best Teams thing for eye contact that you can do. Like the next best thing is to get a camera that kind of drops over the top of your monitor a little bit, but that's the best way to keep eye contact in a Teams call.
Yep. Yeah, because like mine's super close to the monitor, but it's just enough that my eyes are out, especially when I'm looking at the bottom half of my monitor. So I'm really considering that Elgato just so it can be a monitor in and of itself.
Yeah.
Drag the window over to it really easily.
That one looks good. The only thing I don't like about the Elgato is the resolution, because it's 1024 by 600, but it sounds like it's kind of usable, but you'd have to probably you have to make sure that the display scale is at 100, which is the minimum. But a lot of apps just don't like that small of res in terms of app Chrome, and then you get like a postage stamp in the middle of usable space, and that's the one thing that scares me about that one, given that it's fairly expensive at $300.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how that renders like the complexity of the Teams window.
Yeah,
so much
you'd have to
going on
pop
there
out
if you drag it
your main feed in Teams, I think. Then you lose gallery, and there's trade-offs basically.
Yeah. I was using an iPad back in the day, and that was kind of the perfect size.
Yeah.
Sorry. Your arms are probably getting tired. We've been talking over.
No. If you can see, let me angle that. You can see how I've got my Anyway,
Yeah.
we'll talk about postures some other time. Andy put me onto that because that was my thinking before this Elgato thingo came out. I wanted to try and use something that I could put the screen on so I could actually have eye contact with people in a Teams meeting. So this is your Atomos Ninja 5 or Ninja V. And at the moment it's
tuned
doing
and articulate up so that it will bounce off the Padcaster.
Well, no, it's not going to do it on this one.
Oh.
But I've got backing on the upgrade for this Padcaster. So it's that wider thing with a tray, and it does a better job. So the idea with that is that I'll take this and I'll angle it here, and it has a different kind of tray. This one's just for, it's just really
it's really
can't stand this
thin.
one.
Yeah,
for
and
a phone.
It's really, you know,
Yeah,
my phone would go in there.
Yeah.
So today, like just for today's demo, I've got it on like a little tension thingo arm, brings it up to here. But what I have done is actually put that in front of this camera. So when my laptop was down on my desk, to kind of go for that look at me, I'm at a desk kind of look, I would have the Ninja 5 just below or above the camera, and then I could kind of use the additional HDMI output through to the Ninja 5 so that I could show Teams just above or just below the camera. And that was great for eye contact. Quite functional in that sense. I talk just a bit more about the mounting, because I think that's something that I really value too. Is that rather than just screwing these things in, I've invested in Manfrotto ball heads and Peak Design mounting plates, so that I can, one, use them while I'm out, but two, they'll still fit into the Manfrotto mounting points. So the idea being that I could just take that camera, I could pop it on the tripod behind me. I could, with this mounting point here too, unscrew this and mount it on any point on the desk. And so that was important to me, so that I could, get that sort of Peak Design out and about advantage, but also being able to mount them quickly to wherever I need them to. So similar kind of thing with this one. It's, a Manfrotto mounting point, and then I can change the height for the camera as well, just markedly. I
Lots
actually
of flexibility.
I originally got those mounting points when I switched to the Amaran lights, because I thought, okay, I'm going to try and get that same flexibility for lights that I had with the Elgato key lights. Those are desk mounted. They come with the mounting points themselves, and I got those mounting points for that purpose. But the fun thing about this is, okay, well, clearly they work with cameras, and to use Andy's point there, that it's spigot, I could take the whole thing out with the ball head just by taking out the silver part just below the ball head, and just pop that into anything that fits that. Cable wise, something that I recently have concerns about is having a cable like this to power the camera. And I am going to be getting a dummy replacement one for this camera that's coming soon too. But when I'm out and about, I wanted something that was not going to put any stress on the USB port, because that would just be horrible to, use this beautiful camera for, a few months, and then out and about, and then it would just, eventually wear away, and I'd have to get it repaired. So this is a tether tool mounting thing that just helps to take the tension off the cable. And it's also kind of magnetic as well, so you can disconnect it and do things like that.
I'm going to need a link to that, please, sir.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
No
I've
problem.
never heard of those before.
Yeah.
Well, actually, to be honest, after I got that, there was this guy who said, "Hey, here's how you can make one yourself with a cheap keychain and a zip tie, and then you would just hook it on to, maybe your small rig mounting plate,
a little
if you
cold
will.
shoe.
Yeah. And so you would just wrap that little zip tie around here, and the zip tie, of course, holds just your lanyard-styled clipping keyring thing, and that takes the tension as well. So $2, or I'll tell you later the cost of that silly little thing.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to ask any questions
Cool.
while I'm sort of a roving camera before I switch over to someone else?
Just real quick, you mentioned you've got the A6700, the newest ASPC.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's really. And I actually have. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
I was
go
just
ahead.
going to say I haven't even talked about how I pipe that into a A10 Mini Pro with a couple of sources as well. So that's become quite important in my recording workflow, because this is also about workflows. Is that I've got the SSD that I'll pump into that, and I'll be recording multiple sources, so that lets me get like a multicam way of working with different content. So it allows me to, hey, this is Darrell talking front to cam, maybe set a little bit further back with a tripod so I can show more of the desk and give that flat, clean appearance, and then cut over to and on my second point in my little listicle, blah 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 blah, and I can just chop and cut the content in post.
Hey, to expand on that just a little bit, this is a tip that I learned that's really helpful. So if you have like the Atom Mini that does ISO recording, it'll record all 4 of those channels at the same time. The cool thing about that is if you have multiple angles going and you mess up on this one, just turn to this one and then repeat whatever you were just doing. And in post, it's super easy to fix, and then you're changing the camera angle, and so it's like a natural transition while you're actually doing it. Saves you a ton of time doing editing.
So the one of these cables is for the front camera that I'm using, this Sony ZEV10 thing number, whatever. And this cable is HDMI to HDMI. It's actually passing through the Ninja 5. So let's start from the camera end. Camera and HDMI Mini out into Ninja 5, which I've just got the hard drive for it yesterday, Andy. So I should be able to record to that at some point. I'm going to figure that out soon. Goes through here, passes through that cable into the ATEM, and then that's how you're actually seeing. And if I was to switch back to it, let's just do that for now so we can pass it over to someone else. Darrell's been talking too long. I just talked about myself in the third person. That's terrible. I'm passing through to get this thing. So it's good. And if I talk about that, because it's always about what can I do and repurpose kit for other purposes. Because I'm now using this Surface laptop device for work and then Mac for my creation. The idea is that, okay, well, how do I record the content from this nicely from the Surface laptop to show a more familiar experience for our customers who are using Windows, and take that content and pop it on the Mac so then I can mess with it and use it. Because the Surface has only got a USB-C port. So the idea I'm going to have is I'm going to pass that through this Ninja 5 to capture the screen, perfectly recorded in 4K. I know the aspect ratio is different. And I'll just take that as a workflow thing into my editing tools and be able to zoom in and out and show stuff while I've used the Mac for recording and editing. Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
That's me.
Awesome. Really cool setup. All right, let's kick it over to Alistair. You mentioned a moment ago that you had transitioned from Canon over to Sony. So why don't you talk a little bit about your kit?
Where did it start? It actually started on this camera here. This is a Canon M100 with some hacked firmware, so I can run clean HDMI out. And I've got a Sigma 16mm lens on. Still the best lens. It is the best lens. So if you are going to buy a lens for Sony or Canon or Nikon, or pick a flavor, Sigma's got a 16mm f1.4 dreamy bokeh lens. It's the best lens. I've got a bunch of other lenses. So we bought the M6 Mark IIs because I was a huge Canon fan, and the first setups we had at the office, which we've actually moved into the office studio now, is Canon M6 Mark IIs, because the M6 Mark II was the first M50 type Canon camera that would give you proper dual pixel autofocus in 4K. We wanted the 4K dual pixel autofocus. And back then, the ZVE10s were not out. You had the A6600s and the 6000 series, which was more expensive. So it was the most cost-effective camera lens kit we could buy at the time. And I still love the camera. The quality of the image is great. It depends on what sort of lighting situation and the color you want out of it. This on my desk is an old M100. It's the first camera that I bought. I've got a 250D, which is SLR, not a mirrorless. And you can use any camera, to what Jeremy was saying. We then moved to the Sonys because that one, if I can actually get this thing to focus. The color on these lenses it's just something, and this, I'll do that. Actually, just come back here. This is a 30mm f1.4 Sigma lens on a ZVE10, and you can immediately see the difference in color. The ZVE10's low light is so much better than any Canon I've worked on. Same lighting, you can see how that M100, you can't compare an M100, but I guarantee you the M6 Mark IIs, the color quality on these, and this is straight out of the camera. I don't have white balance set up, everything's set to auto on this, and it's just got, I've got an ND filter on it, but it's literally 30mm on it, and quality for me is just perfect out of these ZV-10s. They're dirt cheap. They are the cheapest APS-C cameras available to you, where you've got interchangeable lenses. You can buy the GV1F. I think that's the latest sort of, point and click, combined lens camera, a built-in lens camera, and will give you that sort of 17mm wide, right? And then these things just run into an ATEM. And what's interesting, right, on my Mac over there, that's running into a Camlink 4K, and that's got the ZVE10 with Sony G Master 24mm. It is the best lens that I've ever owned. But it's 3-4 times the price.
Is that f1.4 as well?
That's 1.4. Yeah, it's the 24mm 1.4, the G Master lens. It's just it's dreamy, right? But I mean, you're paying what, $300 for a Sigma all day, every day, right? $350, right? Those things are what? They $1,500, I think.
For the G Master,
but we got them on special. We got these things for ridiculous prices Black Friday last year, and they've just gone up in price recently by like 20-30% for the G Master. But I mean, the glass on the G Masters you can't beat that.
And the weird thing is the glass doesn't lose value. If you wanted to sell it secondhand, like I've got a bunch of things that I don't use anymore, like 50mm lenses, for example, and you can sell them for what you pay for them, basically, because there's always a market for glass.
So for me, if you are going to spend money and you want an APS-C, I mean, full frame, also that G Master, it's a full frame lens on an APS-C body, perfect. So if I ever upgrade to a full frame, I've got a lens that's going to work perfectly with it, right? But I'm not going to spend $2,000 on a camera, not today. You saw the new. Well, I'm not going to geek out on new camera because we all suffer from gas. But Camlink 4K
syndrome.
Camlink 4K, Sony ZVE10, and a Sigma 16, and you're good to go. good to go. Even though this is only streaming at 720p, which is strange, right? And the picture quality is great. But
this looks better than a lot of 4K images from cameras that I test.
Yeah.
That's
literally,
like, I'm not lying, because when you test out, a lot of the 4K stuff is basically lying to you, and it's the 1080p image, for example, and it says 4K and it registers as such in OBS, but it's not 4K.
Oh, the little 15 back sort of cam link jobs, right?
Yeah, those kind of do that too sometimes, where it says I do 4K.
4 of them in my cupboard,
no,
right? It will grab it 4K in, but it will push 1080p out.
Right.
And it's so bad. However, when we get to the stage where we talk about what's on our wish list for 2023 and Santa dropping it off, I've got 4 things that I want.
Nice. All G Master lenses, or
no, Roadkit in white, because they have it in white now.
Oh, cool. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got some wish list stuff coming up in just a bit. John, why don't you tell us about your cam kit? Has it changed any?
Sure. It really hasn't changed much at all. I got I'm still doing the Sony A6400. I'm doing HDMI out to a Elgato Camlink 4K. The way I power it is with a battery replacement.
Yeah.
So I've got the little replacement battery power guy, and I've got a Sigma 16 millimeter f1.4 lens on there, like what Alistair was talking about. I picked it up, I think last Black Friday or 2 Black Fridays ago for like $100 off. So I paid $300 instead of $400, and that was when I finally snatched it up. It's been great for me. The way that I mount it, let me switch over to my iPhone. There we go. So the way I'm mounting it is I've got the arm that came with the Elgato key light. I got a solid arm that comes off of it, again Elgato, with a little ball mount at 90 degrees. So I've got it kind of floating out there with, that's the HDMI coming out, and then the power on the other side right there. Sigma 16 millimeter lens. I've got the viewfinder flipped up at me so I can kind of look into it a little bit, but that's what I'm running, and it's right above this 24-inch monitor. And the way that I do my setups, if I ever share anything or like doing a demo, this is dedicated to sharing, only sharing stuff. So, I can have notes and other things like over here on this big screen, and I can dedicate this to having team sharing around it with the camera directly above it. So that's why I kind of angle myself and turn sideways. I've thought about doing, every once in a while, I'll put like a Logitech Brio or something up here, and kind of, that way I can just be lazy and live on this monitor with a camera going on it. But the only other camera option I have is the little Link device that I'm using here. It has a camera that comes out of it that you can use, but again, it's kind of, it's, when you got that right behind it, it's like I'm never going to actually use that all that much.
So
next year tilts.
Next year, we all have to figure out how to put all of our cameras on automatic risers and make them like appear out of the desk and hide when we're not using them.
It's like R2D2.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like I got this monitor, this Teams device sent to me for like tap testing and stuff. I gotta do another round actually of tap testing and team certification. And the first one they sent me, like the camera didn't actuate, so I had to get like a new one. I had to RMA it and stuff, but now it's been rock solid. I really love this monitor, by the way. I think I mentioned it before, but this thing is killer. It's a standalone Teams device, so I can switch like that, and it's got MTR support in it, so I can join meetings that way. Flips back over to HDMI. It's got a wireless charger built in, so I can throw my AirPods on there. built-in microphone. It's my speaker for my computer setup, and it's touchscreen as well. So I can take it, I can tilt it all the way down to the desk, and I can use it for whiteboarding if I want to, or I can lift it up.
What is that? What is that?
This is the Yalink A24. So it's their like all-in-one Teams certified device. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. But yeah, and it's got a camera like built into it, so it can kind of be like your all-in-one setup if you want. Yeah, they're really good for like, especially hot desking. You can set it up for hot desking. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, that's my setup. It's real plain now. You know, I've tried to do like second monitor or second camera angles, things like that, and I've kind of just gone back to, you know, here's my angle, you know, kind of diagonal across my office. So I've got the most amount of like distance behind me, and just kind of settled on like the Sony A6400 because it works for me. One change is I got rid of my A10 Mini. I sold that on eBay a while back because I was having trouble with it overheating over time. It would kind of heat up, and then the lag, like the distance between the audio and the video would drift as it heated up, and I'd have to like reset everything. And it was one of the very, very first iterations.
Is that because there's no power button and you just left it on?
Yeah, I just leave everything on. I'm kind of like Jeremy. My camera has been on, I don't know, for like a year and a half or something like that.
So I put a smart plug onto a multi-plug. So my ATEM and all the cameras, when I tell my smart device to switch it off, because there's no plug on the damn thing. I hated it, right? And literally all my cameras will switch off. Well, I can tell my smart device to switch off everything, and it will include any plugs. So my cameras actually now get switched off at night because I'll, tell it. I haven't hooked up a sensor so that when I leave the room, because you can do that, it's going to switch off, right? But yeah, I'm hoping that ATEM actually brings out a 4K version. I'm not sure if they're going to, but then it's the one smart switcher to rule them all, right?
Yeah. I'm curious, like, if they're ever going to update that thing, because it seems like it's about a year or two behind at this point. Yeah,
they did
do some with the Go XLR. Like a lot of those things, they just coast and don't do anything. Like Porsche 911.
Exactly. Yeah. And one thing I've been looking at is I saw the Rode. I forget what it's called, but the Rode
Streamer
device.
X.
It's got the XLR.
X. Yes.
HDMI capture card. It's like, I could maybe combine a couple boxes into one.
Yeah.
But
Streamer X is 4K with XLR. So
it's like, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Is kind of my attitude right now.
And I noticed you're doubled up on Stream Decks. You've got the XL and the other one with the knobs. So do you use everything on those?
I am not using a whole lot of it right now. Let me share this screen real quick.
Who doesn't have a Stream Deck? I think that's the question, right?
Right. Like standard issue at this point.
Yeah.
For my Stream Deck, I've got two of them. And for my Stream Deck XL, what I've got is I use more buttons than this on my work computer because my EY computer, I'm in Teams all day. So I've got all of these buttons are full of Teams actions.
Yep.
So I've got like toggling the camera, the microphone, all the reactions at the bottom. I'm on my studio computer right now, so I don't use the Teams buttons on it as much. On this one of my favorite things is the world clocks. So I've got world clocks for everything because Darrell's in New Zealand. I've got a clock, so I always know what time it is for Darrell whenever I IM him or something like that. And then EY, the vast majority of people I work with are in London, so I've got like a UK clock just all the time, so I can see like what the time differential is for the people I join with over there. And then on the Stream Deck Plus, this is my setup for that. So I've got my music playback controls. This is my lighting. This is a companion button, so it does my hue lights and my key light with one press of a button. I kind of go into video mode. This switches my audio from my earbuds to my Link speaker. I can control my microphone levels with this. This is my lighting between the Elgato key light, so I can turn that up if I want or down. If I click it, it also goes to my hue lights, so I can like change between my background lighting or my front. This one's just a system volume, so it'll control my volume on my Mac. And then this one, this is my monitor light. So if I've got this app right here, I forget what it's called, but it controls my monitor brightness, and I set it up to a keystroke command. So if I bring up this, like now it's kind of blowing my face out a little bit too much, I can turn this dial and I can adjust that monitor down. So I can control it like a fill light. But yeah, that's what I'm doing with my Stream Deck at this time. I'll stop sharing that monitor. There we go.
I'm adding clocks right now to mine. That's the best idea ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the clock thing's great whenever you got, people all over the world.
I think I'm going to add the clock thing as well.
We're doing that too.
Yeah.
Well, my thing on demo recording is you couldn't get rid of the Windows 11 clock, and there was no way to remove it. And there were tools, utilities that were like third party, because all of the group policy controls, everything that's been around since the Windows 9X days, didn't work. And so now they finally shipped that capability, and somebody finally reached out to me from the Windows engineering team to say we fixed it. But nice. The clock can be removed.
Yeah. The thing I do, so this is a plugin from Bar Raider. So if you go into the Stream Deck, you search for Bar Raider, you'll see the clock one. What I've got also is I'm going forward in time, so that I've kind of got like time zones, they're in the proper order. On my work setup, I've also got the weather for each of those locations too. So when I get on with somebody from London, I already know like if it's cold or if it's warm. I set it, of course, to Fahrenheit, so I understand it. But I could be like, I don't know. It just makes me feel a little bit like closer to the people that I work with.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
So that's my camera setup and a little bit more. Andy, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to show mine kind of briefly. Like we did a little bit of this last year. So I'm actually switching over. This is the Elgato face cam, and I'm just using it as a top down. So this is where it started. This guy right here. I wanted a better webcam than the face cam in my MacBook like 3 years ago. So I had this laying around. It's a Rebel T6. And I used that for a while with the Cam Link. It gave, or actually no, there was some USB software, and that worked really well. And then there was an update in Teams, and that broke it, and so I couldn't use that anymore. Webcams were super hard to find, so I ended up buying this guy. This was the Sony A6500, and I've got the F4, and then it's a 18 to 105 power zoom lens. Love it. It's awesome. It's 4K, clean HDMI out. It's got the smaller battery on it, but you can do a dummy battery. And so that's like my B cam now. But I also use it for like, out and about, taking pictures, videos, stuff with like my kids. I was using the Cam Link on it, but I switched over to the ATEM because I have a couple of mirrorless cameras now, and the ATEM Mini allows me to do the switching back and forth. My primary cam, though, today, the one that not pictured here, but the other one, my primary camera is actually a Sony A7 IV. It's a full frame mirrorless cam. It's got USB out, so I can use it directly as a webcam, or I can do the clean HDMI out through a capture card. It's great. It's also got the bigger battery, and you can just basically just plug it in, and I don't even have to use a dummy battery anymore. So that one's great, but that was a work type deal. So I use that mainly for like all the recordings and things that I do. this one's my like portable, throw in the kit, take with me, and then, you know, fun and stuff and home type setup. I still have a bunch of webcams. I've got the one that's up there. I got these guys because I'm constantly testing webcams with like all the different teams' experiences, the companion cameras, and, you know, everything that was like releasing the team's architecture. So I know the ins and outs, and I can train people on it in the organization. To Jeremy's point, even though it says like 4K, it's not like, you know, in most cases, it's not like a true 4K. Like the 4K coming out of the Brio here is nowhere near as sharp as like the 4K that's going to be coming out of the mirrorless camera. The depth of field, the, you know, things like that. So huge difference. And I also really like having the ability to switch camera angles and kind of break it up a little bit. And that tip that, you know, I mentioned to Darrell earlier, like if you have an ATEM that actually, this one doesn't have it, but if you have one with the ISO, it'll record all four at the same time. And if you mess something up, you just switch to the other camera and just start talking to that. And it makes post-processing so much easier. That being said, I've had the A7 IV for over a year now. It's been great, but the lenses on the 6000 series are significantly more affordable. They keep their value. They're just as sharp. I went with the F4 because I don't need a 1.4. I like the power zoom because I get an 18 mil to 105, and I actually have a a similar lens for the A7 IV. And I like the focal range. I can go wide for like landscape, or if I'm in the office, or I can zoom in. And the cool thing is on the A7 IV, the one that I have there is a 24 to 105, but you can go into APS-C mode, and it like gives you another 1.5 zoom in the camera. So like you take a 105 and, you know, you multiply that 1.6, and you get super ridiculously long telephotic lens out of it. And like Darrell, I like to multi-purpose my stuff. Like I like to, you know, go here and there and everywhere. And so the most recent acquisition that I have is this guy. This is the bring it in the picture. That's the DJI Action 4. Now, I have 2 kids, and so I'm like, let me get a little action cam, and, you know, I'll chase them around and do stuff. Took it to Disney not long ago. That was a lot of fun. Took a lot of video there. I've taken it with me to some conferences. It's actually in webcam mode right now because it has USB-C webcam mode built in, and it's 4K. It's cool. Powered by the computer, which is pretty awesome, and so I can use that as my webcam if I don't want to like work with my phone. So let me switch it over to that one. So I'll bring that into like the webcam view. Right now it's on super wide. I'm not sure what the focal equivalent of that is, but I have the ability to change that up and make it de-warp it. There's a couple things happening here. So my computer is doing a portrait zoom. That's the Mac's doing that. And then it's also doing kind of a background blur. That's not actually built into the camera itself. I can actually turn that stuff off. So if I go here, that turns off portrait mode. That turns off studio light. So that brings it more into the webcam. And then I can unlock the screen. I can go in and I can say field of view. So I can go like there's the de-warp, and then I can use this as like another webcam if I need it. And it packs down super light in my backpack. So that's some of my camera setup, but I like to multi-purpose and kind of keep my options open. But my daily driver is this one right here, the one that you're seeing. That's the A7 IV with the 24-105 f4, which is an amazing lens, and I'm able to multitask with that. And that's what I got for a camera setup. I think camera-wise, I'm good for a while. I did briefly, look at the FX30, the Sony FX30. That is amazing. I'm curious, Darrell, offline, maybe I'm curious why you went with the A6700 versus like the FX30. I've thought about that one, but like, you know, I'm really good with like what I have now. I've got a couple of options for some portability, And the only reason I've held on to a couple of these cameras is because I just don't want to go through the hassle of like trying to sell them and deal with that. It's and I can do some multicam stuff, so I'll keep them around.
Yeah, it's nice to have options like that.
I'm a camera nerd. I love cameras.
I think we went through everybody's camera setup. If you want to switch to audio real quick and chat about audio, we got Scott was asking like, how are you getting such clean audio going in your setup?
So I'm actually using the same microphone that I've been using for like the last 2 years. This is the Rode NT USB. It's a USB powered mic. It's super small. Let's see if I can bring it into the frame. But like super duper small. Audio out of it's really great. And then I'm not even using the Rode Connect software today, but the Rode Connect software is amazing. So the Rode NT USB, that's my main like Teams meetings and stuff. If I'm on a webinar, I'm using the Rodecaster Pro 2. I like the audio out of that. It's really nice. It's got sound effects built in. I can control system sound and everything that's being fed back into the recording through that, and it works really well. Other than that phaser thing that happened with the Teams meeting stuff that we were testing last year. It was like a Teams notification, and it sounded like a space train phaser.
Yeah, it was like looping back the Teams sound back into the
Teams engineering contacted me after that that webinar, and we did some testing, and they took some files, and I think we kind of figured some of that out. The only other thing I'll mention about audio, so we can kind of keep it going, is Darrell had some of these on his desk, and I swear by them too. The Rode Wireless Goes too. Like if I'm gonna go and have a travel kit, like the lightest travel kit that I can get, and I want to have like a couple of cameras, I'll take my iPhone, I'll take the Action Cam, and then I'll take the Wireless Goes, and like that.
You like them, Andy? They're my new clip-ons.
I don't wear them on my ears, but man, like you can't like you get a wide angle camera, you get the wireless lavaliers, and this packs in your pocket. You can put it in a fanny pack if you want. Like it's super lightweight. I do actually have the lavaliers that you can run under your shirt to go with this, which are super nice. Audio quality is great. Battery life on these is really good. And they're small enough I can pretty much take them anywhere. So like that's a lightweight audio travel kit. But as far as mic goes, the NT USB Mini, that thing's been just amazing for me.
Yeah, you've been running that for a long time now.
Yeah, I really like it.
But that's the other thing, right? If you invest, you end up using it for an infinite amount of time once you get something that just works, camera and audio. I mean, this is a pod mic. I've got a Scarlett Studio that I've had for about 5-6 years as an XLR, an audio controller. The new pod mic USBs, if you don't have an audio controller, go buy the pod mic USB. It's $100 more than these.
I didn't know they had that.
Hey?
The USB version. I didn't know they had a USB version now.
So they've launched the pod mic USB. That was about, I think, in August. So it's a pod mic. It looks better, but it's got a USB and XLR. So if you wanted to plug it into an audio controller, you could, but it will plug straight into Rode Connect. And I've got an NT USB on that desk over there. Fantastic thing. But you suffer from gas. So I want a pod mic USB. They've got white pod mics like this. White.
Yeah.
They've got a white PSA 1 arm.
Nice.
And then you plug it straight into and they've got a Rodecaster Pro Duo in white. And the wireless goes, the wireless tools.
The wireless
you can jack them straight into the Rodecaster, the new Rodecaster Pros and the Duos, straight in, and now you've got audio.
They come in white too, Alistair.
Okay. What?
They come in white too. The
wireless goes. Well, not the wireless goes.
Yeah. For wedding mode,
The wireless goes, right? Yeah.
You can get a white Stream Deck too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
But okay, the thing about white, and we were talking about this yesterday, Al, is that that allows you to start getting fancy with your lighting as well. So imagine Al's white mic, little lights sort of up from underneath. Yeah, kind of like that, with I guess barn doors, so it's not all over his face. But that's the fun part of it, right?
You can bounce it off of the boom arm basically to where you can make the boom arm different colors.
Yeah.
Well, no, the other way if it's shooting at the white part of the boom arm, but yeah, you don't want to shoot it at the camera. Let me blind you for a minute. I have the shaky cam, so I guess we're even now.
Osmo Pocket 3, the new Insta360 Ace Pro that they launched yesterday. Any comments?
I haven't tried that. Does anyone have the Pocket 3 DJI Osmo? That
No,
camera?
I had a Pocket 1 for
I have a
years,
Pocket
and it
2.
was great. Yeah,
Pocket 2 is amazing, and I just wish it had because you said that what was it that you had, Andy? It was a DJI device that had webcam mode. I'm just curious if they ported that over to the Pocket 3.
They did, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
and it comes with a creator kit where they'll give you the wireless mic for it as well.
Yeah. The Pocket 2 I had the creator bundle, and that's the best travel camera I think that I've ever used. Because it's in proper 4K too. Like that one's we say what's not and is proper 4K. Like the DJI stuff solves it. Like it, even though it's small sensor and everything, smallish. I think it's a 1-inch sensor on that camera.
Yeah. So the Insta360 Ace Pro trashes the DJI and the GoPro in low light. It's just chalk and cheese. I mean, the reviews were up yesterday, and I mean, if you want a portable, and it's got you get that banding mode, that weird sort of fishbowl mode.
Fisheye lens distortion.
They've got a setting where it will straighten it.
Cool.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool.
Anybody else looking at what is the anamorphic lenses for their cameras, like proper Hollywood?
Oh yeah,
I've had anamorphic, not for these cameras, but I mean, Moment does the anamorphic kit for the
I had
iPhone.
one for the phone. Yeah.
And it didn't work well in your environment?
I had it just to play with, like out and about with the family, stuff like that. It was, I mean, it worked really good. It was pretty cool. You get like cool lens flares and things like that.
Yeah.
I've just never considered doing it for like my desk setup.
Well,
that's one thing I wanted to experiment. Like we talked about wish lists, toy things to experiment with. An anamorphic lens, like on the A7 or on the ZV-E10, I think would be pretty fun to try.
Would you use it to give a different format, like if you're creating an OBS scene, so that you've got your anamorphic lens and then content? You know what I mean?
You could have a different look once you dial the color correction to where they kind of match. Then you could have one that's not and one that is anamorphic. And theoretically, the anamorphic should give you cooler bokeh effect and light flare and all of those things because it's got more of a cinematic look to it.
I haven't seen any autofocus anamorphic lenses.
Oh, that's the problem, because then you can't do low aperture, because with an f1.4, basically the tip of your nose is out of focus with your ear.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen that. You got to dial the focus in manually, right? So if you move,
that's a good point.
Well, you can pull the Make Art Now Josh Yo, and you can get the LiDAR from DJI, and then you can attach the manual autofocus thing to the LiDAR, and then you can use any manual.
Oh, that's cool. So it's like time of flight LiDAR sensor that will actually spin the lens for you when you pre-program it.
It's magic. It's magic.
Yeah, get one of the new
Ronin 4D or something.
Well, it's like the Ronin RC3, like one of their newest gimbals, has a LiDAR accessory that goes along with it, and then it also has a manual focus ring for manual lenses, and so you can attach the LiDAR to that, and then you can use it to autofocus manual lenses. Josh has done a whole bunch of tests on it. He's got some really awesome videos on it on his channel, Make Art Now. But he's done that for a while. And then the new DJI Supercam that they have, it has some LiDAR built into it as well.
Yeah, but I mean, now we're talking about, do you have a cash stash account, right? An offshore account, right?
Yeah, I wish.
This week on Microsoft Mechanics, all things LiDAR.
I would be happy with, those programmable gimbals that you like mount on your wall or the tripod that just does smooth motion like a proper, like a little baby jib. Like that would be cool too.
Darrell, didn't you buy a dolly?
Some of those.
Didn't you buy a dolly where the camera will move on the...
Oh, it was just like a roller skate with in fact that's what I Frankensteined. Yeah.
The little roller skate with like little skateboard looking wheels on it.
Yep. That's what I mounted my Ninja V on, was part of that kit.
I think it'd be really cool to get a little slider
that you can program to do stuff, and you can put it on basically a time lapse type program where it will just do subtle pushes in and move the camera angles and stuff to where you'd normally need a camera op, a human to do that, but it looks really good with the right setup.
Yeah, you could get a very subtle parallax going,
the background and stuff because you got all these moving backgrounds. If you had the little jib thing that was moving around, then because your walls are all pretty dressed.
Yeah. So Alistair would be like, "Come with me," and a jib follows him. He's got the MKBHD robot arm.
Yeah. Oh, that thing's cool. Yeah, that's an expensive piece of kit, isn't it?
Like $1 million or something.
Yeah.
They want to do that, right?
Gosh.
Yep. No, that's way over my budget and pay grade. I could never. Maybe like the hardware team for testing or something might do something like that. That sounds like a Panos thing.
Yeah.
Who
so should we head into
exactly?
Should we head into wish list stuff then, and kind of close out? Like, what are you guys looking to buy potentially Black Friday or after even Black Friday? Like, what are you looking to round out with?
I'm thinking about buying the Topaz Labs suite for upscaling because I think that's pretty cool. I've been using like the free versions of the stuff you can get on GitHub, but I know the Topaz stuff is legit and really, really high quality for upscaling. So that's one thing I wanna try out, even though it's like $300 or $400.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll be doing any like Black Friday sales. It was like I see a lot of our software.
Yep, I hope so.
Yeah. Any hardware that you're looking to get, or just any time a webcam comes out?
No, I keep looking for new releases and things, but it's not like I'm not using it as like my daily drive. They're literally just because I'm interested and I test these things, but lenses always interest me. Like I don't have a 16 mil. I've got the 30 and the 23 and a 35 mil full framed. But I wouldn't mind getting the 16 at some point if I found a good deal on it.
Yeah.
Well, Darrell's got the 15 mil Sony f1.4, and I prefer the color out of that Sony 15 than I do out of the Sigma 60. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really nice.
Yeah. It is more expensive, but it's just the glass on the Sony stuff, and that's a G series, not the G Master. So it's not as expensive as the G Master stuff. But if I was going to buy a lens today for the Sony, it would be that 15 mil that Darrell's got.
Is it APS-C or is it full frame?
APS-C.
Okay.
Affordable.
Interesting.
Yeah, pop that on your ZEV10 in front of you, Jeremy. If you want that wider view.
Yeah. Then I can get it a bit wider. Did my camera freeze? No, it didn't. There we go. Hopefully.
Went black for a second.
It was switching to the other one.
Yeah, so you get.
I went with more. I could do a 16 mil on this and go quite a bit wider. But then it's the same framing ish as the other one, other than the angle of the camera. So that's why I did two that were a little bit different in terms of
different focal lengths. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about you, Alistair? What's on your?
Well, the white stuff freaked me out, so I'm probably there. But I want a Streamer X, definitely a Streamer X. I mean, if it's one thing that I do buy, it's a Streamer X, so that I don't have an audio controller and a cam link. I literally want a Streamer X. These pod mics, bang for buck, any Rode mic is.
I was having focus issues earlier too.
Well, any Rode mic for me, it's still bang for buck. I mean, you've got some SM7s. I mean, Darrell's got an SM7.
Yeah, the
So
MV7.
MV, yeah.
Yeah.
We're all
Bang
MV.
for buck,
Three of us,
the
3 out of
Rode
5.
kit. What's that, Jeremy?
3 out of 5 of us have the MV7s. I was thinking about the SM7 DB because it's new, but yeah, I think the MV7 is decent.
What is it? A $300-400 mic, right?
250. This one, but the DB7 is 400, I think.
Okay.
The SM7 DB. Sorry.
I've just loved Rode, and this thing's never let me down. I've got one at the office. We've got 4 at the office. I've got one here. I've got the NT USB over there, the USB Mini. I'd get for that station over there. I'd get the PodMic USB just because it's new and it's got a different pop filter and things. And that's a $200 mic, right? But it's USB and it's perfect, and it gives me this sort of quality and connects to Rode Connect. And then if I want to dial in a big bottom and all of the other bits and pieces, I can tweak it, and I don't have to worry about the really bad echo because I've got no sound paneling in my office at home. I definitely, that's Rode Streamer X and well, you don't need the PodMic USB because it's got an XLR jack on it. So I'd get a light version of this if I really want.
And that one's dynamic. It's not condenser.
Yeah, it's dynamic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And one other thing to throw out there about the Rode mics or the Rode in general, they keep pushing new firmware. So like they came out with firmware for the Rodecaster Pro 2, which added the ability to add the wireless Go 2s and a few other accessories. The Rode Connect software, they keep updating that and bringing other mics. They update the firmware on the mics and they bring more mics into the Rode Connect software. So they add new features and functionality. So you buy something and a year down the road, they add a new feature to it and you extend the life of that particular product. And that's great. I don't hear of a lot of companies actually doing that. I know there were a couple of YouTubers that were a little upset that, they didn't have that like right out of the box. I'm happy that they gave it to us at all. And, they added it as a free firmware feature, a year down the road. That's just awesome. I really like what Rode's doing with their audio.
Yeah.
If you want
Alistair's, go ahead.
Now, the last thing I'm going to say, if you want cheap kit, right? I mean, you don't have to start with an audio controller and $100 mic and then another $100 for the arm. The Fifine, or Fifine, Fifine, they've got an audio controller that's identical to the Podcaster Duos, and they've got a really cheap mic, and it actually works. So you'll pay $20-30 for the mic. USB works. It comes with an arm. And if you really want to do XLR into their cheap controllers, it's $50 for the controller. And you get the Rodecaster Pro Duo type functionality. So you don't have to go spend $300-400 on $500 on a mic, arm, and a controller. You can spend $75-80 and you'll get really good audio as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So Alistair's going to be spending all of his money at Rode. Rebuying everything again. I think for me, the only thing I have on my wish list is that Elgato prompter. I'm really interested in that one. Yeah. The only bummer about it is Andy had me check yesterday and like ruined my dream of getting it in December. That now it's pushed out to March for shipping date. Yeah, so it's like I really want one, but I don't want to wait a really long time. So that's kind of the only thing I'm looking for is potentially that one.
And you do have to separately mount it. That's the one thing. If you try to just put on the lens, then the autofocus stuff tends to get a little bit tripped up on those.
Yeah.
So you want
that's true. I think I would mount it to the arm by itself and then the camera to.
Yeah, some of Darrell's kit, like he showed with all the different arms and Manfrotto things to get it in the right spot.
Yeah, yeah. Darrell, what's on your wish list this year?
Just changing audio. So I'm off to AirPods now. I've got plans. You can hear me now? Yep.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I've got plans to try and create some content outside. Been experimenting a bit with it already. And so, one of the things that I've got is this Tether Tools table, which the purpose of it is to really provide a place for, if you're in a studio or you're out and about setting up a studio, you're taking pictures and you're tethered to your computer, so your images are always going back. That's the purpose of the kit. Connects to a tripod. But I'm trying to use it to get out, to create some content, to say, look, let's get practical with where I am and what I'm doing. So it's my mobile standing desk.
Nice.
The stuff that I'm wanting to put on my wish list are really around enabling that mobile studio capability, which is why, the Ninja 5 is sweet. And I've got the hard drive that arrived yesterday, plug that in. So I think I'm not trying to go for anything big at the moment. It's more about what can I connect that's going to make that process easier. How can I, bring that down to being, 1 or 2 lenses and traveling out and about. I talked about the 2 lenses that I have. I still think that while my go-to lens for most things now when I'm out is the 16 to 50 2.8 G lens. But the 15 mil 1.4 lens, which I'm using right now, it's just amazing for even walk and talk, selfie stick sort of vlog stuff. So, I wanted to get something like this. It's a case where I can easily pop in lenses and take them with me and drop them in the bag. And so really that's my goal, is what can I do to enable creating that content so it's a bit more interesting. And as Darrell down where he would normally stand up paddleboard, but he's now talking about some other practical application for using collaborative software in M365 and modern work out and about. That's my theme for what I will be trying to.
I like that a lot. It's really cool. Nice. What about you, Andy? What are you spending all your money on this year?
I think I'm tapped out for a while. I picked up this not long ago. This is the DJI Mini Pro 3 with the Fly More kit, but this is the small Fly More kit, so it keeps it under 249 grams. But it gives me well over an hour of flight time off the 3 batteries. Between that and the action cam, I want to take I want to take the show on the road, and experiment with the DJI system, and like I feel like I've dialed in like what I can do from like a webinar perspective and what I can do from a Teams meeting perspective. I feel like I've got a plug and play system. I can just go here, everything's set up, and I can just hit record and be off and running. But I need to change it up. I've been looking at the same view for a while now. Like, this is going back to a corner in my office because I have a corner desk. And I'm really envious of the desk that rolls around that Alistair has, and Darrell switching up.
Dude, that's a sweet setup.
It really is. I want to put my desk on wheels, but I'm in a small carpeted room and it's not going to work very well. So I'm trying to figure out like, how can I take advantage of that place over there, my workbench? Like that's a cool little area. I guess, I got to figure out like how to get a camera over there, and how can I take advantage of like, the wall of my MVP and stuff over there, like bring that in. It's mainly for me because I'm looking at the same thing all the time. I'm literally looking at myself talk right now. And this is what I see like all day, every day. And I just I gotta switch it up. So like if I'm putting anything, any money into anything, it's going to be, figuring out how to make better use of the space that I'm in, get some different angles, and really just take advantage of the investment that I have in the gear that I have. You guys have done a pretty good job of helping me stay in check. We got a group chat going on, and I'm like, check this out. And, Alistair's like, gas. And Darrell's like, I'm going to talk you off the ledge, put the credit card down.
Intervention.
So that's been a really good conversation for like the last couple of years. So I'm pretty comfortable with kit that I have. I just need to start changing up the background a little bit and varying it. That's where I'm going to put my efforts.
Yep.
No, I'm just being an enabler with all your.
Than all of us, right?
What's that?
Literally, Darrell spends more money than all of us on kit. If you go look at what he's acquired over the last year, and he's literally bought a new lens, right? That lens,
all those lenses.
A month ago when I spoke to him, he didn't have it. So Darrell spends money, and then y'all get him to buy the Atmos Ninja thing that showed up 2 months ago.
The A6700 was the last big one.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm spending all my money now on just all the different hobbies. Like you got the DJI drone. The next one you need to buy is this guy, the Avata. That one's a blast.
The FPV one.
Yeah, you get into FPV, man. Oh, it's exciting.
I'm going to work on this one first and mastering this one, because this one's pretty awesome. John, you saw some of the videos that I took a few weeks ago on a camping trip in the North Carolina mountains. So that was really, really fun. And then the last thing I really, really need to dial in is editing. I just really need to put some time learning the ins and outs of like DaVinci Resolve and some of the editing there, and like really, really get proficient with it. So I'll be spending time on that, and time is money. So that's where I'll be.
Have you looked at CapCut?
I have not.
I have, on my phone.
CapCut. Look at the desktop app for it. If you're not going to get into heavy sort of, lumetri stuff and worrying about skin tones and everything else in DaVinci, CapCut is actually quite good, and it's free.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I like the templates and stuff
started
that
out
they have.
as sort of mobile, take a Snapchat video or a TikTok video of eating food with stuff. They've even got AI baked into it as well.
And that's the thing with DaVinci is like to use the quote unquote free version. None of the cool stuff is free, so everything with AI you have to pay for.
Yeah, but it's like Camtasia on steroids, man.
Cool.
For anyone that's used Camtasia before, 2023 is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like Camtasia, probably level 9, maybe not. There's probably somebody that's more in the 10 side, but I've had so many years of Camtasia practice.
Yeah, I know that's my main workflow. I just live in Camtasia when I'm editing something.
I'm getting to the point where I'm not even using the mouses that are captured anymore, and I will repaint all of my own mouse tracks.
Oh wow! Oh my gosh!
And make them go like so if they float over links from hand to pointer to hand to pointer and like all of those things. It's fun. It's not fun. It's
animations.
Tedious,
so
but
much
you
good.
can make perfect motion, because a lot of people do the thing, and this is my pet peeve. When they circle the thing they want to like pay attention to this string of text, circle it, underline it, circle it again, go up and down, and I'm just like, really? Just park your cursor there. Zoom it if you want to do something live. It's crazy. Anyway, that's my pet peeve for the holidays.
So we want to add that to the Stig list of intros for the future. And he doesn't like when you do the cursor stickling or circling. I'll figure out how to work that into a clever intro.
Circling stuff. Yeah, just smooth mouse move, deliberate, smooth, purposeful mouse moves.
There we go.
That's my advice I'll impart on everyone.
There we go.
Very wise.
Well, that's a pretty cool wish list. We've been on this one for quite a while. I think we need to go ahead and bring it home. We do appreciate everybody being here and sharing some of your gear and some of your workflow. Had some great questions from the audience. So we'll try to do this again this time next year. We'll see what happens, what changes, what kind of gear we get over the next year, and how our workflow changes. But a big thanks to Darrell, Alistair, and Jeremy for being here with us and, sticking it out for 2.5 hours here today, but also, just popping in every now and then as John and I are going deep into the Microsoft 365 world. I think with that, happy holidays, everybody, wherever you are. Stay safe, and we'll see you in another 365 deep dive.
Yep.
Cheers, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.
Oh.
Nice.